Don P on the beat here with another tutorial. Right now I'm gonna show you how to do basic EQs and give you some tips on how I EQ. Assuming that you already know how to put your channels into the mixer. If you don't, you will go check out my other video on how to put multiple channels in a mixer. Once you have your channel set up in the mixer, you wanna use the Fruity Parametric EQ tool. I like using this one because it actually give you a visual of what frequencies are being expressed within each sound. So what I like to do, I like to play each sound to see where the frequencies are hitting the most. Now, as a rule of thumb, usually with all sounds except the bass, I usually cut out the low frequencies because, as you can see, like it's nothing really hitting in a low range. And even though it doesn't show anything, it's still some type of noise being generated within that frequency, which is unneeded noise. So you could just like pretty much cut it out by dragging it down. Also in the high end, it's not really too much going on here, so you could just like cut out all the unnecessary frequencies. And that pretty much helps give your sounds more clarity and space within your mix. And what I like to do, as a good rule of thumb, is just pretty much emphasize the strongest frequency. Now, assuming that the sounds that you use, they're pretty much already sounding how you want them to sound, unless you want to give it like a different sound altogether. I would just like emphasize like the frequency that's expressed the most within the sound. So say for instance here, if you notice around here is the strongest frequency. Look like it's in a 500 range here. So I just raise it. Then I move to the next sound. And as I go along to the next sound, I make sure I click on the channel. That way it automatically put me right where I need to be in the mixer. Pretty much cut out the low frequency here since it's not really much going on there. Now here, the strongest frequency is like more on a low end range, but for the sake of not clouding up the low end, because I wanted my 808 to really stand out on the low end, I just emphasized it about 1K, around 1K range. I cut out the lows. It's not too much going on there. And pretty much the basic objective of EQing is to give each sound its separate space within a mix. So if you have two sounds that's like strong in the same frequency, say for instance if I got one sound that's maybe strong around 2K and another one that's around maybe like 1500, I just give it its own space by like emphasizing it in a different range, a different frequency range, without changing the sound too much. So as you can see here, this is the strongest frequency of this sound, but for the sake of creating space for my 808, I just raise it here like around 1300 kilohertz. Cut out the low end. Then just move on to the next one. Make sure as you go, you click on the channel. That way it take you directly to the mixer. Or like when you go to the different pattern and you play it, you could just go to the mixer and it'll show you where it's playing. So we got it here. Again, not too much going on in the lower end. More so mid-range. I can actually cut some of this low out here. Now you know what, I'm gonna keep the low end. I like the way that sound. It's more higher, high pitched. Emphasize it there. Not too much going on with that one. It's pretty a simple concept. Just pretty much taking out the frequencies that's not needed and emphasize the ones that's most emphasized in the first place. Just making it a little louder or a little more apparent. Not too much going on here in the low end. Cut out some of the high end. Emphasize around the 2K range. You just do this for pretty much every sound you have or every sound you're using. Got the kick here. And these are just basic tips. Usually your kick in 808 is going to hit somewhere around this low end here. What I try to do is, say for instance, if I have my 808 more so on the lower end, I have my kick hitting maybe like a little higher than the 808. That way it give it its own space. It just sounds better when you actually train your ear to hit a difference. Like you can really tell the difference. Nothing going on here in the low end. If you listen, it has a nasty hiss. So we just bring that down so we get more of that kick. Move on to the next one. Got a nice snare there. Nothing going on in the low end. We have our strongest point here, so make sure we emphasize that. There. Bring it up a little bit on the high end. Mid-range, high end. On to the next one. This is EQing is like a pretty simple concept. I can't believe it took me like so long to like actually grasp the concept, but it's a pretty simple concept. We have our cymbal in the high range, emphasize it there. Nothing going on in the low end, so we cut all that. Because even though the cymbal, it really don't have any bass, well, every sound is some type, if you notice, like the frequency is really light here. So even though you don't hear it, it's still there. So we just want to cut it out just so it don't cloud up our mix. Because we want to mix the sound nice and clean. Want to give each sound its own space. Over to the next one, we got the hi-hat. As you can see, I had my cymbal hitting around here, around the, what is that? Can't really see what it is. 600 and pretty much the 6,000 hertz mark. So like around here, and then I got my hi-hat hitting like a little more higher, like around this area. you notice. So we just raise it here. So we got the cymbal around here. We got the hi-hat around here. Just to give it its own space. Go to the next one. Got us a nice quiet clap there. Nothing going on in the low end, so we cut it. This is the strongest point here, the strongest frequency in this sound here. So we just raise it just to emphasize it. Nothing really going on the high end, so we cut that as well. Move on to the next one. Ooh, 808. I love it. Alright, so what we got here? Here I didn't actually raise anything because the 808 is pretty strong, so what I pretty much just did was cut a lot of the high end out, since nothing is going on there anyway. And this 808 was actually hitting so strong I had to cut some of the low end just so it won't rumble as much. Cut out the low end, cut out the high end, give it a little boost around the mid range. Nothing really going on here, so we cut that out. Nothing too much going on in the low end, so we cut that out. And plus we want to save space for the 808 and the kick. Raise it in the mid range slightly. Move on to the next one. Got this. I don't know like what type of sound this is, but I like this, so I just put it in there. I actually didn't put this in the mixer. I guess I felt as though it was perfect the way it is, but for the sake of this tutorial, I will. Sound free mixer track. Fruity parametric EQ2. Nothing going on the low end, so we want to cut that out right there. Not too much going on in the high end. We want to cut that. Strongest point here, so we raise it. And for like the producer who don't have their ear trained, it's like it'll be like hard to hear the difference in the sound, but you will notice the difference in your mixes. And when you listen back to your beats and it just sound nice and clean, you'll definitely notice the difference. What is this we got here? Oh, that's the same thing. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'm gonna play the beat back just for the sake of promoting myself. sound have its own space for a nice clean mix. And that's pretty much it. Like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.